Well, it looks like you have found yourselves at the DM side of the table and have no idea where to start. But don't you worry, we can walk you through everything. This is DM Essentials by the BBEG Podcast.
We're rolling. Dice. Camera. Action.
Where to start, I hear you ask? Well, if you are looking to DM, there are several things you are going to need to start. One is a party to play with. This can be done either online or in person. You can ask total strangers on a site like Discord or Roll20, or rope in your friends and do it in the luxury of your own home. It is entirely up to you. The next thing you are going to need is a game to play. This can be one you have created and written yourself, aka a homebrew, or a pre-written one, which can be a one-shot or a campaign. You could find a campaign set like Dragon of Icefire Peak from Wizards of the Coast, or my personal favourite, a fantastic book of one-shots created by Roll and Play Press, One-Shot Wonders. And then that is it. The rest you can grab or source as and when you need. We all know D&D can be a very expensive hobby. So, telling you that you need a DM screen, dice, all the books, and tons of maps is not going to help you, especially if you are unsure if this is something you want to do for a long while. All you need is your imagination, and you can DIY things yourself or find cheap and cheerful things to add some flair to it, but it still keeps it affordable and low budget. It does not need to be flashy just to play.
Now, your whole game will be based upon creativity. Now, whether that comes from the music, we tend to use YouTube or Spotify because it's free, or the counters that you use. Now, these can be anything, and I mean literally anything that you want to identify your characters on the board. It can be buttons, it can be spare dice, it can be little tokens that you got from a shop when you were younger, or anything. This extends to the whole game. Get creative with it. Really lean into the changes as a DM, and with that, you're probably going to need a map to do that as well. Now, you can create this yourself. Draw it. Draw the world you wish to see. And if you want to, get your players involved as well. As well as being a DM, it does mean that you need to have a lot of things in front of your face. So, grab a book. Grab a book. A hardback book is good, and use it as your DM screen. If you don't have real dice, don't worry. You can find lots of alternatives online. For instance, D&D Beyond attached dice to the character sheet, which could be helpful, or Mighty Dice, which just give you a free standard array of dice without the character sheet needed. It's entirely up to you.
As a DM, there's going to be a lot of things that you need to do and handle all at once, ranging from telling the actual story, to managing time, to making sure the players are comfortable, but the characters know what they're doing. Now, you could have this all under control, but the players are still gonna ask you some random question that doesn't really lend itself to the situation that they're in. This is also another skill that you're gonna have to learn as a DM. Whether you feel like you're over-prepared or under-prepared, some DMs really think that they need to create like a whole monetary banking system for their world to flesh it out properly. We can tell you now, your players probably won't bring that up. Whilst your friends will appreciate the effort you put in, the characters aren't really going to see the benefit, and ultimately they're the people who drive the story in the direction it's going, meaning that information you created might just be lost to the background. So instead of getting bogged down by the details and flustered by the ins and outs of what you think your characters would like to see, just create a few basic points and add flair for impact. Because, let's be honest, the players are going to go in their own direction. You just need to add flair and interest where it's needed.
Once you have decided what game you are going to play, if it's going to be one of your own devising or one that was pre-written, there are a few things that you need to think about. Consider adapting those stories to fit the number of players you have around the table. For example, in a pre-written book, it will tell you how many creatures could be in this battle encounter, but you need to look at the size of your party and adjust accordingly. Consider how many NPCs you need and what direction that story can take. You want to be as organised as possible as well, just to help yourself out. Make a cheat sheet of backstory information for your players that you can reference at any time. Consider some questions that their characters should be able to answer, or have an idea of what character might be better in the situation you've laid out for them, and if they are stuck, drop a hint to help them out. Also, don't be afraid to monitor time in battle and investigations, as it can drag. Look, use the role initiative in battles to structure the battle and follow it to the letter. Advise your players to think about their battle moves whilst you work your way around the group. This will allow them time to think things through and save you time trying to drag out an answer when you get to them. To also help new players, maybe consider a seating plan. That can be beneficial. If you seat the more experienced players around the new players, it can help them find their feet in battles quickly, and it also relieves some of the stress from you.
Another thing that will really help you is getting to know your players. A lot of this will be covered during your session 0 with them. You're going to find out if they are new or returning, if they're willing to help or not, how uncomfortable or comfortable they are with certain situations. You're going to discover all of this. The main thing also to think about is whether you can highlight if they're going to be a backseat DM culprit or a co-DM helper. To clarify, a backseat DM is someone who will tell the DM what will and won't work in the DM's world. Now, this can be based off their own experience as maybe a professional DM or as a particular player. This can also come from knowing the rulebook inside and out. A co-DMer, on the other hand, is someone who is willing to help other players when they get stuck, who will maybe help out with music and be able to move the counters around on the map, as well as helping the DM out with anything else that they need. It is essentially a DM's assistant. It can be really helpful for a DM to have people like that round who can help out with people who are not quite as experienced, as well as helping the game and the DM's vision come to life, especially if it is a larger campaign.
It's good to know the basic rules of the campaign you're going to be leading, but be prepared to adjust and amend them as you go, as the campaign fleshes itself out. Write them down, put them on the back of your DM screen, and your DM screen, whether that is homemade or an actual one you bought, they are essential. You can keep quick notes on the back, your players' stats on the back, you can fudge rolls behind them. Well, I guess the secret's out. DMs! You can fudge rolls if the moment needs more drama or intensity. If the players aren't being urgent enough, a DM screen hides all secrets. Doesn't 18 cover your AC? I know it does. I've got your stats here. See? We as a group know that D&D is an expensive hobby, so Dungeon Masters find a creative way to avoid spending that cash. For player pieces, for miniatures, get the Monopoly board pieces out. Use a dice rolling app. Instead of buying a load of maps, buy a whiteboard and pens. You can sketch out your map, and if there's a terrain change, you wipe it off and amend. Nice and simple, take seconds. Also, let us know your tricks to keep D&D cheap. What hacks have you found here? Now, after this video, if you are still unsure, we can recommend a couple of really useful books. Last month, we had the pleasure of interviewing Roll and Play Press at MCM Comic Con to talk about their book One Shot Wonders, over 100 suggestions and ideas for possible one-shots if you're stuck on coming up with a creative storyline. And me, myself, I backed a Kickstarter called Nimble. It's a D&D book that's only 22 pages and has all the key information you need just to help you from flicking through that 300-page D&D official book. It cost me $4. Cheap as chips. Literally cheap as chips down at my local chippy. Now you have our tips and tricks. Go, play, create. If you have any other suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video. Get out there, adventurer.